I stood in front of the full-length mirror, smoothing down my simple black dress, while my sister Elena's words from last year's gala still rang in my ears. "Oh, Maggie, always hiding in the shadows. Someone needs to teach you how to shine. My name is Maggie Montgomery, and tonight I'm done hiding." The annual Women in Business Empowerment Gala buzzed with energy as I made my way through the crowd. Designer dresses and diamond jewelry sparkled under crystal chandeliers, but I kept my focus on the stage, where Elena would soon deliver her keynote speech. "There's my favorite wallflower," Elena's voice carried across the room as she approached, champagne in hand. "I almost didn't recognize you without your usual hoodie and laptop." I forced a smile. "Good to see you too, Elena. Is that the dress I sent you last Christmas?" She circled me, frowning. "It looks different on you." "Actually, I bought this myself." "Oh, darling, you should have called me. I know how overwhelming fashion can be for someone like you." My best friend Malia appeared at my elbow, sensing tension. "Maggie, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." Elena's perfectly painted lips curved into a smile. "Malia, you're looking fabulous as always. Unlike some people, you understand the importance of presentation in business." I bit my tongue, thinking of the 3 tech companies I'd quietly built and sold over the past decade. The investment portfolio that could buy Elena's failing fashion empire 10 times over. "Actually," Malia said, "Maggie just closed an incredible deal at her company." The board was, "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena cut her off, raising her glass. "Gather round. I simply must share the most adorable story about my baby sister." My stomach dropped. "Elena, please don't." "When we were little, Maggie would try so hard to be like me. She'd steal my makeup and try to walk in my heels." Elena's voice carried across the now silent room. "One time, she even cut up my favorite designer dress, trying to make her own fashion line. Can you imagine? It was precious." Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. I felt my cheeks burn. "But that's what I love about her. She knows her limitations. She's found her little niche in computers, and she's content to stay in her lane while I built an empire. Isn't that right, darling?" I looked around the room at the pitying smiles, the second-hand embarrassment. Malia squeezed my arm in support, but I'd already made my decision. "Actually," I said, my voice stronger than I expected, "I have an announcement to make." Elena's smile faltered. "Maggie, don't be silly. The grown-ups are talking business." "Oh, I'm talking business too." I stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "Did you know that Montgomery Fashion stock has dropped 60% in the past year? That they're 3 months away from bankruptcy?" The room went dead silent. Elena's face drained of color. "But don't worry," I continued. "An anonymous investor has been buying up the company's debt. Someone who believes in ethical fashion and supporting women in business. Someone who's been waiting for the right moment to step forward with some conditions for saving the company." "What are you talking about?" Elena hissed. I pulled my phone from my clutch and opened my banking app. "Would you like to see the receipts, dear sister? I have quite a collection." "You're bluffing," she whispered, but uncertainty crept into her voice. "Remember when you told me to learn how to shine?" I smiled, feeling years of suppressed confidence finally breaking free. "Well, I think it's time for both of us to step into the light. We're going to have a very interesting conversation about the future of Montgomery fashion." The crowd burst into whispers. Elena's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. In that moment, looking at her shocked expression, I felt a mix of triumph and sadness. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about finally being seen. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "I believe this gala is about empowering women in business. So let's talk about real empowerment, not just the kind that looks good on Instagram." As security rushed to escort Elena away from her growing panic attack, I caught Malia's proud grin and Jordan McCarthy's intrigued stare from across the room. But it was Paige, Elena's assistant, whose knowing nod told me I'd just opened a Pandora's box of secrets. I picked up Elena's abandoned microphone, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Now, who's ready to hear about the future of ethical fashion?" The room erupted in applause, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like anyone's shadow. I was about to change everything, for better or worse, and God help me, I was going to enjoy every minute of it. "You really did it," Malia said, pouring us both another glass of wine in my home office. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating walls of servers and multiple monitor displays. "You actually stood up to her." I clicked through the avalanche of emails flooding my inbox since last night's gala. "The press is having a field day. Tech sister emerges from fashion queen's shadow." "Good, let them talk." Malia settled into my ergonomic chair. "But are you ready for what comes next?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Elena's face flashed on the screen for the 20th time since last night. I declined the call. "You'll have to talk to her eventually," Malia said. "Not until the paperwork is finalized." I pulled up a complex spreadsheet showing years of strategic investments. "Look at this. She's been running the company into the ground for years. Unpaid overtime, sweatshop labor, environmental violations." "Miss Montgomery," my AI assistant's voice interrupted. "Jordan McCarthy is here for your 10 a.m. Malia raised an eyebrow. "The tech blogger? Moving fast, aren't we?" "It's not like that. He's been investigating ethical violations in the fashion industry. I need allies for what's coming next." Jordan walked in, leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder. His casual attire, jeans and a wrinkled button-down, contrasted sharply with the sleek office. "Impressive setup," he said, eyeing my tech, though I expected nothing less from the woman who created SecureFlow. I froze. "How did you—" "Please. The anonymous developer who revolutionized cybersecurity 3 years ago. I've been tracking the digital breadcrumbs for months." He pulled out his laptop. "But that's not why I'm here. Tell me about Elena's company." For the next hour, I laid out everything. The shell companies, the covered-up workplace accidents, the environmental shortcuts. Jordan took rapid notes, occasionally whistling at particularly damning details. "This is Pulitzer-worthy stuff," he said finally. "But why now? Why not expose this years ago?" "Because—" My phone buzzed again. This time it was Noel, my ex-husband. I answered on speaker. "What is it?" "Mags, Elena's at my house. She's hysterical." "And that's my problem because she's threatening to expose your involvement in the data shield breach." My blood ran cold. Malia sat up straight, and Jordan stopped typing. "She's bluffing," I said, but my voice wavered. "She doesn't know anything about that." "She has documents, Maggie. Real ones." I ended the call, my hands shaking. The data shield incident, my first major hack, done to expose corporate corruption, was supposed to be untraceable. "I need to go," Jordan said, packing up quickly. "But whatever that was about, handle it fast. My exposé goes live in 48 hours. After he left, Malia turned to me. "Maggie, what aren't you telling me?" I pulled up an encrypted folder on my main screen. "Remember 5 years ago, when Data Shield's CEO was arrested for selling customer data? The hack that exposed everything? That was you. It needed to be done. They were selling people's private medical information to insurance companies." I ran my fingers through my hair. "But if Elena can prove my involvement—" "Then you're no better than her," Malia finished, "and your whole ethical crusade falls apart." My phone pinged with a text from Paige. "Emergency. Meet me at Cafe Luna in 20. Elena's planning something big." I grabbed my jacket. "I have to go." "Maggie," Malia caught my arm. "Are you sure you want to keep pulling this thread? Some secrets are buried for a reason." "I'm done being buried," I said, heading for the door. "It's time everyone saw the truth. About Elena, about me, about everything." At Cafe Luna, Paige sat in a corner booth, nervously shredding a napkin. "Frederick's involved," she said as soon as I sat down. "He's been embezzling funds for years, and Elena helped cover it up. But that's not the worst part." "What could be worse?" "Your mother's estate." Paige lowered her voice. "The money that was supposed to go to your tech scholarship foundation. Elena and Frederick diverted it all to save the company last year. I felt the floor drop out from under me. That money was meant to help girls from underprivileged backgrounds get into STEM. Mum's last wish. I have proof, Paige continued, sliding a USB drive across the table. But if they find out I gave this to you, they won't, I promised, pocketing the drive. But I need to know, why are you helping me? Paige's eyes hardened. Because 2 years ago, I watched Elena fire a pregnant woman for requesting medical leave. It's time someone stopped her. As I left the cafe, my phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line made my heart stop. Final documentation, Montgomery Fashion Acquisition. It was time. In less than 24 hours, I would legally own my sister's company. The question was, what would she do to stop me? I opened my rideshare app, but instead of heading home, I input a different address. It was time to pay Noel a visit and find out exactly what Elena knew about my past. The game was changing, and I needed to know all the players. Noel's townhouse looked exactly the same as when I'd left 3 years ago. Even the wind chimes I'd hung still tinkled in the breeze. He opened the door before I could knock. "She's gone," he said, stepping aside to let me in. "But you should see this. Elena had left a hurricane in her wake. Papers scattered across Noel's usually pristine living room, empty wine glasses on the coffee table, and a familiar red leather diary lying open on the couch. My diary, from college. How did she get this? I picked it up with trembling hands. Said she found it while clearing out your mum's storage unit. Noel gathered the scattered papers. Maggie, there's stuff in there about Data Shield, about other companies too. I wrote everything in code. Elena hired someone to crack it. He handed me a stack of translated pages. She's desperate. The company means everything to her. I skimmed the decoded entries, my stomach churning. Did you read these? Enough to know you were busy in college. He sat beside me. Anonymous tips to the SEC, encrypted whistleblower reports, that mysterious server crash at PharmaCorp. My phone buzzed, Elena calling again. This time I answered. Family dinner. Tonight, 8 p.m. Her voice was steel. Vivienne's hosting. Eleanor, you owe me that much, little sister, before you destroy everything. She hung up before I could respond. Noel watched me with concern. You're not going, are you? I have to. I stood, gathering the diary and translations. But first, I need to make some calls. Back in my car, I dialed Malia. How quickly can you decrypt a USB drive? Depends what's on it. Why? Paige gave me something about Frederick and my mom's estate. I need to know what we're dealing with before dinner. Bring it over. And Maggie, be careful. Elena's not the only one with something to lose. At Malia's apartment, her computers hummed as she worked on Paige's drive. I paced, reading through my old diary entries. Got it, Malia said after an hour. Holy shit. The screen filled with spreadsheets, emails, and photos. Frederick in compromising positions with business partners. Elena signing documents with impossible dates. Money trails leading to offshore accounts. They didn't just take your mum's scholarship money, Malia said. They've been running a full-scale fraud operation. Look at these shipping manifests. They're using the fashion deliveries to smuggle goods. Can you send this to Jordan? Already done. But Maggie, she pointed to a photo dated last week. That's Paige with Frederick. They look close. My phone chimed with a text from Jordan. Story's ready. Running tonight at midnight. Hope you're prepared for the fallout. Another message popped up, this one from Vivienne. Bring your evidence tonight, all of it. How does she know? I whispered. Because I told her. Paige stood in Malia's doorway, making us both jump. Sorry, your door was open, and we need to talk. She looked different, confident, polished. Not the nervous whistleblower from this morning. You're working with Frederick, I said. Was working with Frederick, until I found out about the scholarship money. She sat down, uninvited. Look, I'm not proud of what I did, but Frederick promised to make me partner if I helped him manage Elena's indiscretions. And now, Now I want to make it right, but we need to move fast. Frederick's planning to pin everything on Elena and take control of the company himself. My phone buzzed again, a news alert. Elena's face filled the screen. Fashion Empire CEO calls emergency board meeting. She's making her move, Paige said. Once she consolidates board support, your ownership won't matter. I checked the time, 6:30 p.m. Can you get me into that board meeting? It's at 7:30, right before your family dinner. I can get you in, but... Do it. I gathered my things. Malia, send everything to my lawyer. Paige, text me the meeting details. It's time to show Elena exactly what kind of player I've become. Maggie, Malia called as I headed for the door. What about your diary? The evidence against you? I smiled, feeling a calm certainty settle over me. Let her show it. Some things are worth the sacrifice. As I drove toward the Montgomery fashion headquarters, my phone lit up with a final text from Vivienne. Remember, dear, in this family, we don't fight to win, we fight to survive. I parked in Elena's reserved spot, straightened my jacket, and grabbed my laptop. In 90 minutes, I'd face the board. In 3 hours, Jordan's story would break, and somewhere in between, I'd have to survive dinner with the family I was about to tear apart. Game on, big sister. The Montgomery fashion boardroom fell silent as I walked in, Paige 2 steps behind me. Eleanor stood at the head of the table mid-sentence, her perfect composure cracking for just a moment. What is she doing here? Frederick's voice cut through the silence. I believe, I said, connecting my laptop to the projector, I have a right to attend, given that I now own 51% of the company's debt. Elena's knuckles whitened around her presentation remote. The board was just discussing a restructuring plan. To hide the missing scholarship money, I clicked through to the first spreadsheet, or to cover up the shipping manifests. Frederick stood abruptly. This meeting is private. Sit down, Frederick. Paige's voice was sharp. Unless you'd like me to share those photos from the Dubai trip. The color drained from his face as he sank back into his chair. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the board. In exactly 3 hours, a major tech publication will release a story detailing years of fraud, labor violations, and criminal activity at this company. But you have a choice. I laid out my terms: ethical manufacturing standards, fair labor practices, and a restored scholarship foundation with double the original funding. The board members exchanged glances as the evidence mounted on screen. This is absurd, Elena interrupted. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, I can. And I did. I turned to face her directly. The question is, dear sister, are you ready to do the right thing, or should I let Frederick take the fall alone? Frederick jumped up again. You wouldn't dare. Check your email, Paige said quietly. One by one, the board members looked at their phones, faces growing grave as they read Jordan's advance copy of the story. All in favor of accepting the new terms, I asked. The vote was unanimous. Elena stood frozen, her perfect world crumbling around her. Meeting adjourned, I said. Now, I believe we have a family dinner to attend. The drive to Vivian's house was tense. Elena insisted on riding with me, her silence more dangerous than any outburst. You've ruined everything, she finally said as we pulled up to the mansion. No, Elena, I saved everything. You just can't see it yet. Vivian opened the door herself, her silver hair elegant as ever. My girls, right on time. The dining room looked like a museum piece, all crystal and silver, but the tension crackling through it was very much alive. Noel was already seated, along with Jordan, whose presence made Elena's eyes narrow. You invited a reporter, she hissed. I invited everyone who needs to hear the truth, Vivian said, taking her seat at the head of the table. Including the truth about your father. Elena's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. What does Dad have to do with this? Everything. Vivian pulled out an old envelope. You see, your father didn't leave because of his gambling debts. He left because he discovered something about the company, something that would have destroyed your grandfather's legacy. My heart pounded as Vivian continued. The company was built on blood money. Your grandfather stole his initial designs, drove his partner to suicide, and buried the evidence. Your father found proof and threatened to expose everything, so I convinced him to leave. Mom, Eleanor whispered, what did you do? What was necessary, just like Maggie is doing now. Vivian turned to me. You're more like me than you know, dear, but you're doing what I couldn't, breaking the cycle. The story goes live in an hour, Jordan said gently. But it doesn't have to include everything. Elena's hands shook as she reached for the envelope. All this time, I thought I was protecting his legacy. You were protecting a lie, I said. But we can build something true now, together. Why didn't you tell me? Elena looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. About your success, your companies. Would you have listened? The grandfather clock chimed 9, its sound heavy with history and secrets. Noel cleared his throat. The data shield evidence, he said. Elena, what are you going to do with it? She pulled my diary from her bag, along with the translations. Without a word, she walked to the fireplace and dropped them in. We watched the pages curl and blacken. I never could decode your weird little ciphers anyway, she said, attempting a smile. My phone buzzed, Malia sending the final version of Jordan's story for approval. One text from me would set everything in motion. Before you send that, Elena said, I need you to know something. The scholarship money. I didn't take it all. Half is still there, waiting. I couldn't completely betray Mom's wish. Vivian reached across the table, taking both our hands. Then let's make it right, all of it. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw past the perfect makeup and designer dress to the girl who used to read me bedtime stories. I pressed send on the text. The truth was about to change everything. But maybe, just maybe, it would change us for the better. The morning after Jordan's story broke, I walked into Montgomery Fashion's headquarters to find chaos. Phones rang off the hook, employees huddled around computer screens, and reporters camped outside the glass doors. Miss Montgomery, a young intern rushed up to me. Which Miss Montgomery are you? The one with the working laptop, I said, heading for Elena's office. Where's my sister? Conference room B, the investors are calling. I found Elena surrounded by screens showing angry faces in expensive suits. She looked like she hadn't slept. The stock has dropped 30%, one investor barked. This is unacceptable. Actually, I said, stepping into view, it's an opportunity. Elena's head snapped up. Maggie? Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the screens, pulling up a presentation on my tablet. Let me show you our new direction. For the next hour, I outlined our transformation plan. Ethical manufacturing, transparent supply chains, and a revolutionary tech platform for sustainable fashion. Elena watched, her expression shifting from surprise to understanding, as I revealed the innovations I'd been developing in secret. This isn't just damage control, I concluded. It's the future of fashion. After the calls ended, Eleanor slumped in her chair. You've been planning this for years, haven't you? Someone had to. Her phone buzzed, Frederick's lawyer. She put it on speaker. Elena, he's talking, telling them everything. I need to what? She interrupted. Hide, run. No, I'm done running. After she hung up, we sat in silence until Paige burst in. The factory workers are going public, she said, tablet in hand. All of them. Every sweatshop, every unsafe condition. Elena stood. Get me a car. I need to see this myself. We'll take my car, I said. I'm coming with you. The factory was on the outskirts of the city, a sprawling complex that looked nothing like the glossy photos in company brochures. Workers gathered outside, sharing stories with news crews. Miss Elena? A woman approached us, her eyes fierce. Remember me? Sarah from the night shift, the one you fired when I got hurt. Elena stepped forward. I remember, and I'm here to make it right. For hours we listened to their stories. Elena took notes, asked questions, looked each person in the eye. I watched my sister transform from a defensive CEO to someone learning hard truths. Back at the office, Malia was waiting with more news. "Frederick's not just talking about the company," she said. "He's revealed some interesting things about Vivienne's past." My phone rang. "Jordan." "Turn on the news," he said without greeting. "Your mother's about to make a statement." We crowded around Elena's office TV. Vivienne stood at a podium, looking regal as ever. "30 years ago," she began, "I made choices that hurt many people. Today, my daughters are choosing a different path. They're choosing truth." Elena gripped my hand as we watched our mother confess to decades of secrets. "She's sacrificing everything," Elena whispered. "For us." "No," I corrected. "For the truth." Paige entered with fresh coffee and headlines. "Social media's exploding. People are calling for boycotts. But there's also support, lots of it, especially from women in tech and fashion." "Show me," Elena said. We scrolled through messages from young designers, tech innovators, and ethical fashion advocates, all offering help and partnership. "This could work," Elena said slowly. "The transformation. But I need your help, Maggie. Both your business sense and your technical expertise." I raised an eyebrow. "Are you asking me to hack something?" "I'm asking you to be my sister, my partner, for real this time." Before I could respond, Noel appeared in the doorway. "You both need to see this." He led us to the company's main server room. "Someone's trying to wipe the systems. Started about 10 minutes ago." I jumped into action, fingers flying over the keyboard. "It's Frederick. Has to be. He's trying to destroy evidence." "Can you stop it?" Elena asked. "Better." I smiled grimly. "I can trace it." For the next 20 minutes, I battled Frederick's tech team, protecting files, while Noel called cybersecurity and Elena contacted the FBI. "Got him," I finally said. "He's at the airport, Terminal C." Eleanor was already grabbing her keys. "Let's end this." As we raced to the airport, Eleanor glanced at me. "You know, when we were kids, I always thought I was protecting you by keeping you in my shadow. And now? Now I realize you were never in my shadow at all. You were just waiting for the right moment to step into your own light." We pulled up to Terminal C, just as FBI agents surrounded Frederick at the gate. He saw us, and his face contorted. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted as they led him away. "You're just like your mother, destroying everything you touch." "No," Eleanor called after him. "We're building something new, something real." As we watched them take him away, my phone buzzed with a message from Vivienne. "Ready for phase 2? I showed it to Eleanor. "Are we?" She straightened her shoulders, looking more like my sister and less like a fashion icon. "Together this time." "Together," I agreed, and we walked back into the chaos we'd created, ready to build something true from the ashes of our family's lies. "You want me to do what?" I stared at Elena across her newly reorganized office, now stripped of its pretentious art and filled with sustainability charts. "Present at the Fashion Innovation Summit," she repeated. "Next week, with me. I don't do public speaking." The tech genius who brought down a fashion empire is afraid of a microphone. Jordan leaned against the doorframe, grinning. "That's going in my follow-up piece." "Nobody invited you to this meeting," I said, but couldn't help smiling. "Actually," Eleanor pulled up an email, "I did. We need media coverage of the company's transformation, and Jordan's already proven he can handle sensitive stories." My phone buzzed, Paige requesting an urgent meeting. Speaking of sensitive stories, I found Paige in the server room, surrounded by boxes of old files. "Look what I found in Frederick's personal storage." She handed me a stack of photographs. "It's about your father." The photos showed our father meeting with Vivienne at a cafe, dated just last year. He was older, grayer, but unmistakably alive and well. "There's more," Paige said. "Account statements showing monthly payments from Vivienne to an address in Vancouver." "She's been supporting him all this time." My hand shook. "Elena needs to see this." "See what?" Elena appeared behind us, making both of us jump. Her eyes fell on the photos. "Is that Dad, I confirmed, very much alive and apparently in regular contact with Mom. Elena snatched the photos, her face cycling through shock, anger, and hurt. All these years, she let us think. We need to talk to her, I said, now. But before we could leave, Malia burst in. Turn on the news. Frederick's wife is giving an interview. We rushed to the nearest TV. Frederick's elegant wife Sandra sat perfectly poised, her expression carefully controlled. What my husband did was unconscionable, she was saying, but he wasn't acting alone. The Montgomery family has a long history of burying secrets. Ask them about Thomas Wright. Elena grabbed my arm. That was grandfather's business partner, the one who supposedly committed suicide. Sandra knows something, I said. We need to... Already on it, Jordan interrupted, phone to his ear. My source says Sandra has documents from Thomas's daughter. Apparently your grandfather didn't just steal designs, he stole the entire company through forged documents. The truth keeps getting uglier, Elena muttered. Then let's put all of it out there, I said. At the summit, complete transparency. That's corporate suicide, Paige protested. No, Elena straightened up. It's liberation, but first, we're going to Vancouver. 2 hours later, we were on a private jet heading north. Eleanor paced the aisle while I dug through old company records on my laptop. Found something, I said. Thomas Wright's daughter is still alive, living in Seattle. Book her a ticket to the summit, Elena ordered. It's time everyone heard the whole story. My phone lit up with a text from Vivienne. I know where you're going. He's expecting you. Mom knew we'd find out eventually, I realized. This was all part of her plan. Of course it was. Elena laughed bitterly. She's always 10 steps ahead. The Vancouver address led us to a modest house overlooking the water. Our father opened the door before we knocked. I wondered when you'd find me, he said simply. We sat in his living room, the silence heavy with 20 years of absence. Finally, Elena spoke. Why did you really leave? He pulled out an old leather portfolio. Because of these. Original designs by Thomas Wright. Proof that your grandfather drove him to his death. Your mother gave me a choice. Take the money and disappear, or watch her destroy the evidence and everyone connected to it. And you chose money over your daughters? I couldn't keep the anger from my voice. I chose to keep the truth alive, he countered. Everything I received went into a trust, for both of you, to use when you were ready to make things right. Elena's phone chimed. Sandra was requesting a private meeting. She has Thomas's daughter's contact information, Elena said. She's willing to trade it for immunity from prosecution. The summit's in 5 days, I said. Can we pull this all together in time? We have to. Eleanor stood. Dad, will you come? Tell your part of the story. He looked between us, seeing not the little girls he left behind but the women we'd become. Yes, it's time. As we left, I turned back. Why didn't you ever reach out? Let us know you were okay. Because you needed to find your own strength, he said, and look what you've done with it. Back on the plane, Elena pulled up the summit schedule on her tablet. Ready to rewrite fashion history, little sister? I thought about all the secrets, all the lies, all the pain that had brought us here. No more shadows, I said. Let's show them what the Montgomery sisters can really do. Elena smiled, and for the first time in years it reached her eyes. Together? Together, I agreed, and began typing out our presentation. The truth was messy, but it was ours to tell. The Fashion Innovation Summit's main hall buzzed with anticipation. I stood backstage, adjusting my microphone while Eleanor paced. Sandra's here, Paige reported, tablet in hand. Front row, with Thomas Wright's daughter, Patricia. And Frederick's lawyers, Elena asked. 3 rows back, looking nervous. I peered through the curtain. Vivienne sat in the center, our father beside her, both looking straight ahead. Jordan was typing furiously in his seat, while Malia gave me a thumbs up from the tech booth. 2 minutes, the stage manager called. Elena grabbed my hand. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. I squeezed back. Ready to burn it all down? And build something better. The lights dimmed and we walked out to polite applause. Elena took her place at the podium while I stood by the presentation screen. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena began, "you're not here for a fashion show. You're here for the truth." The first slide appeared, a black and white photo of Thomas Wright with our grandfather. 50 years ago, two men started a company. One died in disgrace. The other built an empire on lies. A murmur ran through the crowd. Patricia Wright sat straighter. "But today isn't about the past," I stepped forward. "It's about the future we choose to build." For the next 30 minutes, we laid it all bare. Elena revealed every unethical practice, every covered-up violation. I demonstrated the new blockchain-based transparency system I developed to track manufacturing. "Every garment will have a digital passport," I explained, showing exactly who made it, under what conditions, with what materials. "And speaking of transparency," Elena added, "let's talk about Frederick." On cue, Sandra stood up. "My husband wasn't acting alone. I have proof that board members knew about the illegal shipping operations." "We know," I said, clicking to the next slide. "That's why we're restructuring the entire board." Gasps and whispers filled the room as names and evidence appeared on screen. "But the biggest secret," Elena continued, "isn't about fashion at all. Dad." Our father walked onto stage, his step steady. 20 years ago, I discovered evidence of my father-in-law's crimes. Vivian offered me a choice, silence or exile. I chose exile, but I also chose to protect the truth. Patricia Wright stood up. "My father's designs, the ones that disappeared after his death, are right here," I said, revealing the contents of the old portfolio. "And they're being returned to their rightful owner, you." The audience erupted in chaos. Lawyers rushed forward, reporters shouted questions, and somewhere in the back, I heard Frederick's name being mentioned by security. "Furthermore," Elena raised her voice above the noise, "we're establishing the Wright Innovation Fund, supporting young designers from underprivileged backgrounds. Using the money our father saved for us," I added, "along with my tech company profits and Elena's personal assets." Vivian stood slowly, drawing all eyes. "And I'm adding my shares to the fund. It's time for real change." Suddenly, the screens went black. Warning messages flashed across my laptop. "Someone's trying to crash the system," I announced, fingers flying over the keyboard. But they forgot who they're dealing with. Within minutes, I'd traced the attack and restored the presentation. "Courtesy of Frederick's legal team," I smiled grimly, "who've just violated their bail conditions." Security moved toward the lawyers as Elena continued our presentation. We outlined the company's transformation plan, our commitment to ethical practices, and the tech innovations that would make it possible. "We're not just changing a company," Elena concluded. "We're changing an industry. And we're starting right now," I added, launching the new system live on stage. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Patricia Wright made her way to the stage, tears in her eyes as she hugged us both. "Your grandfather would be proud," she whispered, "not of what was built on lies, but of what you're building on truth." Backstage after the presentation, Vivian waited with our father. "Well played," she said, "both of you. But remember, the hardest part comes next." "Actually," Eleanor smiled, checking her phone, "it's already happening. Our stock is up 30%. Ethical fashion brands are requesting partnerships, and Jordan's live blog of the summit is trending worldwide." "The Wright Innovation Fund website has crashed from application volume," Malia reported, rushing up. "And you both need to see this." She showed us her tablet. Frederick had posted a full confession online, throwing his co-conspirators under the bus in a desperate attempt to save himself. "Perfect timing," I said. "The FBI will love his detailed account of everyone involved." "Speaking of involvement," our father said quietly, "I'd like to help, if you'll have me." Eleanor and I exchanged looks. 20 years of anger and hurt didn't disappear in a day, but maybe, just maybe, there was a path forward. "The Wright Innovation Fund needs a director," Elena offered. "Someone who knows the importance of protecting creative rights," I added. He nodded, understanding the olive branch for what it was. As reporters clamored for follow-up interviews and industry leaders lined up to speak with us, Elena pulled me aside. Ready for what comes next? I looked at our unlikely family, broken, healing, but finally honest. Ready for anything. The revolution we'd started was just beginning, but for the first time, we were all stepping into the light together. The morning sun streamed through the renovated Montgomery fashion headquarters as I walked past workstations filled with young designers collaborating with tech developers. My new normal still felt surreal. Your 9 a.m. is here, Paige announced as I entered the shared office Elena and I now occupied. And Elena's running late. Of course she is. I smiled, spotting the familiar figure waiting by the window. Hello, Frederick. He turned, prison orange replaced by a subdued suit, his former arrogance gone. Maggie, thank you for seeing me. You said you had something important to share. Information about other companies, similar operations to what we were running. He placed a thumb drive on my desk. Consider it my attempt at making amends. Or saving yourself at sentencing, I noted, but pocketed the drive. Elena burst in, slightly breathless. Sorry, the Right Innovation Fund meeting ran long. Patricia had amazing ideas for the apprenticeship program. Frederick stood awkwardly. I should go. Stay, Elena commanded. You helped create this mess. You should see how we're fixing it. I pulled up our latest project on the wall screen, a virtual fashion show featuring designs from our scholarship recipients, modeled by women of all sizes and backgrounds. This launches tonight, I explained. Complete transparency on every piece, from design origin to manufacturing conditions. And look who's hosting, Elena added as Jordan's face appeared in the promo. Frederick watched, his expression unreadable. You've actually done it. Changed everything. Not everything, I said. There's still work to do, starting with this. I held up his thumb drive. Elena raised an eyebrow. More industry secrets. More chances to make things right, Frederick corrected. A knock interrupted us, Vivienne and our father, with Malia close behind. The papers are ready, Malia announced. Everything's set for the merger. Frederick looked confused. Merger? Right Innovations is becoming part of the family again, Elena explained. The right way this time. Patricia and I are co-chairing the board, our father added, with Vivienne as ethics advisor. And what about you two? Frederick asked Elena and me. We're stepping back from day-to-day operations, I said. Focus on the tech side, developing new transparency tools. And I'm launching a consultancy, Elena added, helping other fashion houses transition to ethical practices. Using your insider knowledge of what not to do, Frederick attempted humor. Using our understanding of how hard change can be, Elena corrected, and how necessary. My phone buzzed, Jordan sending the final cut of tonight's launch video. I played it on the main screen, watching our vision come to life. Remember when you told me to learn how to shine? I asked Elena. I was wrong, she said. You already knew how. I just couldn't see past my own reflection. Vivienne stepped forward. The car's waiting. The press wants photos of the whole family at the launch. The whole family? I looked at our father. He smiled tentatively. If you'll have me. Actually, Elena pulled out an envelope. We have something for you first. Inside were papers transferring partial ownership of the Right Innovation Fund to him, with conditions. You'll work directly with Patricia, I explained, using your experience to protect other innovators from what happened to her father. And you'll be there, Elena added, for every family dinner, every holiday, every milestone. No more running. He took the papers with shaking hands. I don't deserve this chance. None of us deserved our second chances, Vivienne said softly, but we got them anyway. Frederick cleared his throat. I should go. My lawyer's waiting. Frederick, Elena called as he reached the door. Thank you for showing us who we didn't want to become. He nodded once and left, carrying the weight of his choices. Ready for tonight? Malia asked, tablet ready. I looked around the office, at Elena arranging tomorrow's meetings, our parents reviewing right fund applications, Vivian making notes on ethical guidelines. Almost, I said. Just one more thing. I pulled up the company's original logo on my screen, the one Thomas Wright had designed all those years ago. Patricia approved it this morning, Elena said, watching me work. Dad, he came to stand between us, seeing his father-in-law's art transformed into something new. The logo morphed, incorporating elements of transparency and innovation while honoring its origins. Perfect, Vivian whispered. My phone lit up with messages, Paige coordinating security, Jordan sending last-minute updates, Noel confirming he'd be there to support us. You know, Elena said as we gathered our things, when this all started, I thought you were trying to destroy me. I was trying to save you, I corrected. Save us all. She linked her arm through mine as we headed for the elevator. Well, sister dear, mission accomplished. The doors opened to reveal the lobby filled with reporters, designers, and supporters. Our family fell into step behind us. Not perfect, not completely healed, but moving forward together. Ready? Elena squeezed my hand. I squeezed back, feeling the strength of truth and reconciliation in our grasp. Ready. Together, we stepped into the light we'd created, ready to shine on our own terms.